The worst evening. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one, and welcome to today's report. Today's report is coming from Bent Razor off Irwin. When this happened, 2001. The drugs used, Lorazepam, at a dose of 3 milligrams. The route of administration was orally through pills. Gender, male. Weight, 137 pounds. Prior experience, he's noted he's drank scotch in school before, and the setting, he was on a school trip for music, started in the hotel room, and ended up at a performance. So this is a Lorazepam experience that turned out unfortunate for our buddy Bent Razor here, as he was hoping to get a good night's sleep here, but ended up having to go to a jazz performance because his teacher made him. And unfortunately, the Lorazepam gets the better of him, and he ends up in a somewhat helpless state. So I'm pretty sure this is our second benzo that we're covering. I know you guys are going to like this one, and without further ado, let's dive right into it. It was the spring break of my senior year in high school. Our jazz band, in which I played the less than important auxiliary percussion parts, remember the corrugated fish in grade school music class, went on a trip. Recently, I experienced a stress-induced insomnia and resulting psychosis. After a visit to a local psychiatrist, I went to Kmart with my grandmother to get my prescription filled, Lorazepam 1 milligram dosage. I had taken 3 of these capsules with me in case I had trouble sleeping. The first night passed without incident. On the second evening, 3 friends and myself were hanging out in our hotel room watching The Simpsons. We were supposed to leave to watch another jazz performance. I'd had enough of jazz for one lifetime already, so one of my buddies said he'd stay behind with me. Good enough. After The Simpsons concluded, I felt an impending sense of boredom. I decided to cut the evening short by taking all 3 of the Lorazepam tabs, a triple overdose, and dedicate my evening to nothing but a deeply medicated sleep. I asked my friend if it was cool if I just crashed for the evening. It was only 5:30 at the time. He had no objections, so I dropped the pills and waited patiently for my well-deserved escape from the day. Funny how plans can change. Right before I slipped into my placid escape, a knock came at the door. It was our band teacher. "Everybody downstairs, we're leaving in 10 minutes. My eyes widened. "Wait, can't we stay here?" I asked, unsuccessfully trying to hide the panic in my voice. He simply shook his head and disappeared into the hallway. Uh-oh. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that taking 3 times the recommended dose of a sedative and then venturing out into a public place against your will can have some unwelcoming effects. This, in combination with the fact that I was emotionally depressed to begin with, made for one deplorable evening. The most noticeable effects took place about a half hour later when we arrived at the festival. When trying to step off the bus, I nearly fell. My balance was so off that I couldn't walk without stumbling. I had once drank 7 ounces of scotch on an empty stomach in school and still been able to walk a straight line, so this was a very frustrated development. My vision was distorted. It looked like I was watching the world through an ancient home video, only getting every 3rd frame. I felt drunk and disoriented, a unique feeling for which I can provide no comparison. We arrived inside the concert hall. The upbeat music echoed from the stage, pounding in my ears and only adding to my confusion. When I felt I couldn't take any more, I got up from my seat to take a walk and collect my thoughts. This, too, did not go as planned, since I just ended up getting lost on the wrong floor. After walking circles and getting nowhere, I finally sat down on the steps. I felt so overwhelmed that I began to sob openly and uncontrollably. An onlooking Good Samaritan witnessed this pathetic act. She walked over and sat down right next to me. Not what I needed. "Are you okay?" she cooed. I made no response. Just a little side note, if you see a teenage male crying like an infant with a diaper rash, chances are he's not okay. "Is it about a girl?" I shook my head slowly. "Do you want to talk about it?" "No," was all I could muster. She finally got the hint and returned to her group of friends, who were staring hard at me by this time. How utterly humiliating. After several more lost minutes, as well as odd glances from security, I finally made it back to my seat. I spent the rest of the evening wallowing in suicidal thoughts and despair. All in all, one of the worst evenings I've ever had. Upon reading this, do not assume that Lorazepam has no value as a recreational drug. I once took 4 milligrams in my house and had a great trip, with lasting euphoria and excellent visuals. As with any drugs, stay in a controlled environment, take your current frame of mind into account, and be careful. Alright, so Bent Razor here unfortunately ended up on 3 milligrams Lorazepam in public. Not the best scenario you want to find yourself in, as that is considered a pretty strong dose, in which that left him getting hit pretty hard by the drug. As we can see, he experienced a lot of physical effects like sedation, motor loss control, some dizziness, and I imagine it must have been real frustrating trying to normally operate in such a difficult and confused state. A dose like that normally has you snug in a rug in your bed, but Lorazepam is generally like most other benzos. There is the same risk potential for addiction, overdosing in combination with other depressants, and all your classical benzo effects. Thus, because so, we can compare this to a benzo we've covered on this channel before, alprazolam, the famous Xanax. Both of the drugs last relatively around the same time, they come on around the same time, though it probably is possible to piss out Lorazepam faster based off its chemistry. And I want to bring up 2 reports though, both of which you can find in the description below are on screen. Panic Be Gone by Jitters and Xanax and Mental Illness by Evan. Both of these reports include 2 people who go through a lot of stress and anxiety naturally. Jitters, he was a student who eventually got a prescription for Xanax and it gradually eased him up, calmed him down for social situations. While Evan, he too was a student, feeling heavily pressured from his mom though, and was given a pill from his friend in which it helped relieve his mind and outlook at the time. While looking at Bent Razor's case, it was mainly used for sleep, which differs from Jitters, but I imagine that Bent Razor's socialization would have been normal if he hadn't taken such a large dose. But I do think there may be a relation between Evan's and Bent Razor's behavior. 3 milligrams is a binge experience and probably shouldn't be done often. He did also note he did a 4 milligram experience as well, in which he may have been seeking some relief with some cozy sleep, but it may not be the best behavior later down the road, as Evan's behavior with Xanax eventually led him to taking up to 28 milligrams at one point, and resulting with him having a seizure and lasting effects. But with that, I'm going to end it there. If you guys have any requests on any type of benzos, I'm down to do them. Just let me know. If you have a report, feel free to send it in or request any other substance you would like to see on this channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. Follow the socials. It's been someone that's no one, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.